What if the greatest power of a woman lies not in how others love her, but in how she learns to love herself despite feeling unloved? In a world that often tells women they must be validated by others to feel worthy, there exists a quiet strength in embracing one's own worth no matter how unseen or unappreciated the world may seem. The unloved woman is not a victim of her circumstances. She is a woman who, through the depths of isolation and rejection, discovers her own value and learns to stand firm in her truth. What if the key to her transformation is not in waiting to be loved, but in realizing that she is already enough? From a young age, we are conditioned to look outside ourselves for validation. Approval from family, praise from teachers, admiration from friends, and ultimately love from partners become benchmarks by which we measure our worth. This search for external validation shapes much of how we view ourselves and often dictates our actions, choices, and beliefs. We begin to build an identity based on what others think of us, hoping that the approval of others will somehow fill an inner void or make us feel whole. But there is a problem. This external validation is often fleeting, inconsistent, and ultimately unsatisfying. Relying on it creates an endless cycle, where we seek praise or attention in hopes of feeling valued, only to find that the feeling doesn't last. When we depend on others to define our worth, we surrender our power to circumstances and people beyond our control. We give others the ability to shape how we feel about ourselves, and in doing so, we lose a sense of stability and self-acceptance. External validation is like trying to fill a bottomless cup. It can never be fully filled. This is because the human experience is naturally subjective. People have their own biases, perceptions, and limits, which means their validation will always be filtered through their own lenses. This dependency on external input leads to a life where we are constantly reacting to others' opinions, often leading to feelings of insecurity, anxiety, and self-doubt. Ironically, the more we seek validation from others, the further we stray from understanding ourselves. When we focus on meeting external expectations, we begin to ignore our inner voice and authentic desires. We might choose careers, relationships, or lifestyles that look impressive from the outside but feel hollow on the inside. This disconnection between what we genuinely want and what we pursue for approval creates a deep sense of dissatisfaction. Over time, we may find ourselves wondering, who am I really, or what do I truly want? The more we seek external validation, the more we lose sight of our authentic selves. An endless pursuit of approval can also lead to a constant state of comparison. We begin to measure our worth against others, believing that our achievements, appearance, or social standing determine our value. This comparison erodes self-esteem and fosters a mindset of lack, as there will always be someone who appears more successful, attractive, or popular. This comparison trap drains energy and focuses our attention outward rather than inward, making it difficult to find lasting contentment. Moreover, when our worth depends on others' validation, we become susceptible to manipulation. People who understand our need for approval can influence or control us by offering or withholding their validation. This can lead to unhealthy dynamics in relationships where we tolerate poor treatment or compromise our values for the sake of maintaining approval. The fear of losing someone's validation or the desire to avoid conflict may cause us to suppress our true thoughts and feelings, which distances us further from our genuine self. The illusion of external validation lies in the belief that others have the power to make us feel complete. We chase their approval, hoping it will provide us with a sense of value, but true self-worth cannot be given or taken by others. It is an inner experience rooted in the understanding that we are inherently worthy. The more we let go of the need for external validation, the closer we come to experiencing a stable sense of self, free from the fluctuations of others' opinions. True self-acceptance is born from an understanding that our value does not lie in what others think, but in our own inner acceptance and understanding of ourselves. Love is often viewed as something we receive from or give to others, a gift to be exchanged, a bond formed between two people. We search for love, yearn for it, and sometimes despair at its absence. Yet this view frames love as something external, a force dependent on others' presence and actions. But if we shift our perspective, we can see love not as an exchange, but as a state of being, something that resides within us regardless of external circumstances. When love is seen as a state of being, it transforms from a need to a natural expression of our true self. It is no longer something to be acquired or sought after, but rather something that radiates from within, something that colors our view of the world and ourselves. When love is a state of being, it transcends conditions and expectations. It does not demand reciprocation, validation, or recognition, because it is not something we're trying to possess or control. This kind of love exists independently of any specific relationship or interaction. It is not dependent on being directed at someone or something, but is rather an underlying sense of connectedness and compassion that we hold toward all of life. By understanding love in this way, we can let go of the need to control, to possess, or to secure love from others. We become free from the fear of its loss because this love is not something that can be taken away. It is intrinsic to us, part of our very being. This shift in perspective allows us to experience life more openly and with a deeper sense of connection. When we recognize love as a state within ourselves, we are not limited by the usual boundaries that define traditional relationships. We can feel love toward others without requiring them to meet certain expectations or fulfill specific roles in our lives. This kind of love is unconditional, arising from a deep understanding and acceptance of people as they are, without judgment or attachment. We see them as part of the same interconnected whole, deserving of compassion and understanding simply because they are. By loving in this way, we let go of selfish desires, releasing the need for people to be a certain way to earn our affection. Living in a state of love means being able to feel love even in solitude. We no longer need to search outside ourselves for love to feel complete or whole. In this state, love becomes like the air we breathe, effortless, always present, and essential. This love fills us up from within, allowing us to meet each moment and person with openness and warmth. And it enriches our lives far beyond the temporary highs of romantic love or external validation. When love is a state of being, it becomes an ongoing experience, enriching our lives and deepening our relationships. We begin to understand that true love does not take demand or diminish, rather. It gives freely and overflows. We are no longer anxious or fearful about whether we are receiving enough love because we are no longer viewing love as a transaction to be measured or weighed. In this way, love as a state of being enables us to embrace life fully, to live without fear of rejection or abandonment, and to approach others with genuine kindness, knowing that love flows naturally from within. Instead of seeking love, we become love itself, experiencing life with a newfound depth and freedom that no external source can provide. Self-love is often misunderstood as a shallow concept, a surface-level admiration of oneself that borders on vanity or self-centeredness. But in its truest form, self-love is far deeper. It is the recognition of our intrinsic worth, our wholeness. Self-love is not about building ourselves up through achievements, physical appearances, or the approval of others. Rather, it is an inner acknowledgement that we are complete as we are. This completeness does not depend on external factors or validation, but is rooted in the understanding that our value is inherent. In seeing ourselves as whole, we release the need to constantly strive, to compare, or to find validation outside ourselves. When we fully embrace self-love as wholeness, we recognize that there is nothing missing that needs to be filled by others. Many people go through life feeling that they need someone or something to complete them, that a relationship, status, or accomplishment will finally make them feel enough. This feeling often creates a sense of lack, leading us to believe we must do or be more to be truly lovable or valuable. But self-love teaches us that we are already enough, that nothing outside of us can add or subtract from our inherent worth. This realization allows us to step out of cycles of dependency, comparison, and self-criticism, leading to a profound sense of freedom. This kind of self-love does not mean we ignore our flaws or imperfections. Rather, it allows us to embrace them as part of the wholeness we already possess. When we love ourselves fully, we accept every part of who we are, including our perceived weaknesses, mistakes, and insecurities. In doing so, we develop a kind, and compassionate relationship with ourselves, free from harsh judgment or unrealistic expectations. We see our imperfections not as flaws to be hidden, but as unique aspects of our humanity. This self-acceptance fosters resilience and confidence, as we become less affected by external opinions or setbacks and more grounded in our sense of self. Self-love, as wholeness, also transforms how we interact with others. When we no longer need external validation to feel complete, we approach relationships from a place of abundance rather than neediness or fear. We are not seeking someone to fix us or fill a void within us. Instead, we can offer and receive love freely without hidden expectations or demands. This creates healthier, more fulfilling relationships because we are not projecting our unmet needs onto others. In essence, self-love frees us to love others without clinging, jealousy, or dependency, as our sense of worth is no longer tied to how others perceive or treat us. Living with self-love as wholeness also allows us to pursue our goals and passions without the pressure to prove ourselves or gain approval. When we feel whole, our actions are motivated by genuine interest and joy, rather than a need to compensate for feelings of inadequacy. We are free to explore, create, and take risks because we are not afraid of failure or rejection defining us. This freedom enables us to live authentically, in alignment with our true selves, rather than conforming to others' expectations. In this state, self-love becomes the foundation for a life of authenticity, growth, and fulfillment, where we live not in pursuit of wholeness, but from a place of wholeness, radiating peace and acceptance in everything we do. Neediness is a state of seeking external validation, approval, or reassurance to feel worthy and secure. It is the mindset that something essential to our well-being exists outside of ourselves, and as a result we grasp onto others to meet our emotional needs. This feeling of neediness often emerges when we believe we are incomplete or lacking in some way, leading us to believe that someone else can fix us or provide the missing piece. But the more we cling, the more we find ourselves dissatisfied, anxious, and perpetually longing. This is because true fulfillment cannot come from outside sources, it must come from within. Letting go of neediness means releasing the illusion that others are responsible for our happiness, worth, or full fulfillment. When we let go of neediness, we stop seeking from others what we must ultimately find within ourselves. This doesn't mean we should stop connecting deeply with others or remove ourselves from relationships. Instead, it involves building a foundation of self-worth, self-love, and inner stability, so we approach relationships from a place of abundance rather than lack. Relationships become healthier when we are not constantly seeking validation or reassurance from the other person. When we feel whole, we can share love without needing anything in return, as our love comes from a place of fullness, not emptiness. This shift is a powerful one, as it frees us from the cycle of dependency and disappointment that often accompanies neediness. When we rely on others for our sense of worth or security, we hand over control of our emotions and self-perception. If others approve of us, we feel good. If they don't, we feel diminished. Letting go of neediness means reclaiming this power. It allows us to develop a stable sense of self that is not easily swayed by others' opinions, moods, or behaviors. In this way, letting go of neediness fosters resilience, inner peace, and emotional independence, allowing us to navigate relationships with greater ease and confidence. Letting go of neediness also involves embracing the reality that no one else can truly fulfill us. Many people enter relationships hoping that the other person will complete them, soothe their insecurities, or provide a sense of purpose. But this is an unrealistic expectation to place on anyone, and often leads to disappointment or resentment when the other person cannot meet such demands. Recognizing that we are responsible for our own emotional well-being is both empowering and liberating. It frees us to focus on building a loving relationship with ourselves, cultivating self-compassion, and finding purpose and joy that are not dependent on others. By letting go of neediness, we open ourselves up to a new experience of love and connection. Instead of fearing rejection, abandonment, or judgment, we become secure in our own worth, knowing that we are enough as we are. Relationships then become places of mutual growth and support, rather than sources of validation or emotional dependency. We can appreciate others for who they are, not what they can give us. In this state, we are no longer looking to fill a void, but to share in a meaningful connection with others. This brings a sense of freedom, as we are no longer weighed down by the fear of loss or rejection, and we can fully engage with others with openness, trust, and respect. Letting go of neediness is a journey of building self-trust and inner security. It requires shifting our focus from external sources of validation to cultivating self-acceptance, resilience, and a deep sense of inner contentment. This process allows us to enter relationships from a place of strength, where we can offer and receive love freely without becoming entangled in the anxieties and insecurities that often accompany neediness. This path leads to healthier relationships, greater personal growth, and a life rooted in the understanding that true fulfillment and security are found within, not in the hands of others. Embracing inner love and peace means nurturing a deep, unshakable sense of contentment and acceptance within oneself. It is the realization that peace and love are not things we need to find outside ourselves. Rather, they are qualities that already exist within us, waiting to be acknowledged. Inner love and peace grow when we learn to turn inward for validation, comfort, and assurance, rather than relying on external factors or people to provide these feelings. This process begins with cultivating a loving relationship with ourselves, one that is patient, compassionate, and understanding. By accepting ourselves fully, with all our strengths and weaknesses, we lay the foundation for a state of being where inner peace can thrive. When we embrace inner love, we stop looking for love in all the wrong places. Many people believe that love can only come from romantic relationships, friendships, or family connections. While these are certainly sources of joy and connection, they are not the ultimate or sole providers of love. Embracing inner love means realizing that the love we seek is already within us. It is a state of mind and heart that radiates outward, independent of the circumstances around us. This love is free from conditions, expectations, and demands. It is a gentle and accepting love, one that allows us to be fully ourselves without fear of judgment. Inner love does not waver based on our successes or failures. It remains constant because it comes from a place of true self-acceptance. Embracing inner peace is about letting go of the need for control, certainty, and constant striving. Peace comes when we release the endless desires, worries, and fears that often dominate our minds. Instead of constantly searching for things to make us happy, we learn to find contentment in the present moment. Inner peace grows when we stop resisting life's challenges and accept that both good and difficult experiences are part of our journey. It doesn't mean we avoid or ignore problems, but rather we approach them with a calm and steady heart. By practicing mindfulness and staying present, we can reduce the power of anxious thoughts and allow a quiet serenity to settle within us. As we cultivate inner love and peace, we begin to experience a shift in our relationships and interactions with the world. When we are grounded in a sense of inner peace, we are less reactive to external stresses or the opinions of others. We become more resilient, able to handle criticism, conflict, or rejection without feeling as though our sense of self is under threat. This makes our relationships more balanced, as we no longer seek validation or approval to feel worthy. We can engage with others authentically, without hidden agendas or the need to manipulate situations to feel secure. Inner love and peace also foster a profound sense of gratitude. When we are no longer focused on what we lack, we can appreciate the richness of what we have. This sense of gratitude fuels our love for life and the people around us, allowing us to connect with a sense of purpose and fulfillment. Instead of searching for meaning outside, we recognize that meaning comes from within. Life becomes less about accumulating accomplishments or possessions and more about experiencing each moment with presence and gratitude. By embracing inner love and peace, we also find freedom from the constant pressures and comparisons that society often imposes. We no longer measure ourselves by external standards or societal expectations. Instead, we find joy in being true to ourselves, letting go of the need to conform or prove ourselves to others. This journey toward inner peace allows us to live authentically, honoring our unique path and embracing our individuality without fear or hesitation. In this state, life becomes simpler and more fulfilling. We realize that true happiness is not something we achieve, it is something we uncover within ourselves. Inner love and peace are not destinations to be reached, but qualities to be embraced and nurtured daily. This awareness transforms our lives, giving us the strength to face challenges with grace, the patience to accept ourselves fully, and the capacity to live with love and peace as the guiding forces within us. Awakening to the love within is a profound journey of self-discovery, where we come to realize that the love we've been seeking externally has been within us all along. Often we go through life looking for validation, acceptance, and love from others, believing that relationships, accomplishments, or external successes will fill an inner void. But as we awaken to the love within, we begin to understand that no external source can provide the lasting fulfillment we seek. This awakening involves a deep shift in perspective. Recognizing that love is not something to be acquired or given, it is a quality inherent in our being, accessible at any moment. The process of awakening to inner love begins with self-acceptance. For many, the journey of self-love is complicated by self-doubt, insecurity, or a sense of unworthiness. We may have internalized negative beliefs over time, coming to see ourselves through a critical or judgmental lens. Awakening to the love within requires us to let go of these limiting beliefs and embrace ourselves as we are. It is about acknowledging our imperfections without allowing them to define our worth. Through self-compassion, we gradually dissolve the barriers we've placed between ourselves and love, creating space for acceptance and understanding. As we do this, we cultivate an inner environment where love can naturally emerge. This awakening also involves a shift from external seeking to inner contentment. When we constantly seek love from outside sources, we often feel anxious, needy, or dependent, always fearing that love might be taken away. By turning inward, we come to see that true love is a state of presence and awareness within ourselves. It is not something that can be given or taken, but rather it is always there, waiting to be acknowledged. This recognition brings a deep sense of security and peace, as we no longer depend on others' approval or affection to feel loved. Instead, we become self-sufficient in our love, knowing that we can always tap into this wellspring within. Awakening to the love within also transforms how we relate to others. When we operate from a place of inner love, we no longer place unrealistic expectations on others to fulfill our emotional needs. We can appreciate people for who they are rather than as sources of validation. This inner love allows us to connect more authentically, free from the fear of loss or rejection. We no longer cling to relationships out of insecurity or neediness, because our sense of love is not dependent on them. This inner wholeness allows us to give freely without the need for anything in return, leading to relationships that are rooted in genuine compassion and mutual respect. Embracing the love within also deepens our connection to life itself. When we experience ourselves as beings of love, we begin to see the world through a different lens. We feel a sense of connection with everything around us, a realization that we are part of a larger, interconnected whole. This awareness brings a sense of reverence and gratitude for life, as we begin to see each experience as an expression of love. Whether we are alone or with others, we feel a deep sense of belonging and purpose. Life becomes less about seeking or achieving and more about being and experiencing. This shift brings a quiet joy and fulfillment that is unaffected by the highs and lows of external circumstances. Awakening to love within is also a path of liberation. When we know that love is our true nature, we are free from the endless pursuit of approval, success, or perfection. We realize that nothing external can add to or take away from our inherent value. This freedom allows us to live with courage and authenticity, no longer weighed down by the fear of inadequacy. We become more resilient, able to navigate challenges with a steady heart, knowing that our worth is not defined by outcomes or others' opinions. This inner strength empowers us to fully embrace ourselves and to live with intention and purpose.